like to take a moment and thank our sponsor. If you have a laser device for training and you want to take it to the next level, or if you're looking to get into using a laser device for training, check out the products at laserapp.com. LASRAPP.com. You can use code CSP2021 for 15% off the items you've selected. And thanks for checking them out. Mike, when we first started talking, you actually said you're running for USPSA president.
Yeah. So,
as a naturalized citizen, is that allowed?
We'll make it happen. I'll call Putin. We'll make it happen.
I'm in. Okay.
There's no requirement. There's no requirement in the bylaws to be a citizen. You just have to be a life member before you assume office.
Okay.
Listen, this has been brewing in my head for a while. Starting I think early this year, and it started with a couple of small things. We try to run a local club here, and we are already Steel Challenge affiliated, but we're not USPSA affiliated. So we're not running USPSA matches. We are USPSA affiliated for Steel Challenge. I wanted to step up and start running local matches. And as a new match director, I called the headquarters and I said, how do you guys help us as little guys to start a new club? Are there any discounts that you can offer? No, we don't really do anything. So why are we paying the fees just for the classification? So I felt like the organization should be able to do better in that regard and help little guys who are starting. I don't have a budget. I might have to borrow from the club to buy some steel, but maybe USPSA can give me not a 10% discount code, but maybe, and I have I'll share with you guys my campaign and like a rent to own program where a new club, USPSA hooks up the new club with a vendor who makes good steel, who's USPSA approved. They get a discounted steel, or they pay USPSA for the next year a portion of their match fees to pay for that equipment. Reduce the stress on the match director, help them out as an organization. We talk about membership numbers and how previous administration was touting big numbers. I'm like, well, we don't really have a problem with that anymore. And if we ever had that problem, we have a problem with venues. There's not enough clubs in it, in the area. Area 7 match, a tremendous match, but they had to use a lottery system because they can only host so many members. Local clubs, sometimes some of the better local clubs like Metamor, Santillani, they get sold out within seconds, a minute, 55 seconds, and the match is full. You click submit, and you're on a wait list. Can the organization do something to help with that situation? What if we, and I have some of these bullet points. Can we create a program where we enter into a partnership with venues that are in decline? Maybe review the history of the clubs. How many clubs have lost their affiliation or have not renewed their affiliation? Why did that happen? Let's get on the call with that guy. Let's find out. Maybe the club is in a situation where we can enter into a partnership. We may sponsor them somehow. We may, let's work out the legal details. The organization has a lawyer. We can engage that lawyer to create a contract where we enter into partnership with an existing venue where we are either part owners or somehow reestablish those venues, rebuild those venues. If a club needs money to invest into, building a few stages, can organization help them with that? New and existing clubs, help them out with a vendor program, discounts, things like that. I'm thinking, I'm a new match director. I want to make these stages interesting. Yeah, I travel to big matches. I see these great stages. I can bring that back. But as a new match director, or even people have been running matches for a long time, they build stages that are not super interesting. It's the same stage. You go to the same match and it's the same stage over and over again. And I'm like, who can make it more interesting? How about a database that's accessible to all the match directors of all the vetted stages?
Yeah,
that have been used but that also ties into the thing that I talk about, increasing the competitive value of the organization. What if we create a program, or not a program, a way to submit feedback, for people to submit feedback on the stage that they've shot. You just came back from Area 8. Keanu has this wonderful surveys that went out, right? I filled it out. I'm a tremendous job. Really enjoyed this. These are the good points. We can expand on that. Vote for your favorite stage, and that out of those votes, the data is compiled, and now we have these were the most favorite stages of the last nationals. Create a database with the measurements, make it available to the match director so that he or she can pick from that database and build those stages. make it more interesting, make it more challenging for the local matches. But how did I get into this? So that was the thing. Organization was not really helping me as a new match director. The area directors, didn't really get a whole lot of feedback. There was another thing where a local club was enforcing local club rules without permissions from the headquarters, without having it approved by the headquarters. I reached out to the organization, the headquarters, they didn't do anything. All these votes that are happening overnight, all these things that are happening that are not transparent, that are not getting enough review from the membership, that's, not good. And then the final thing was the rule changes that happened overnight. And I think it got a lot of people, a little bit irritated, right? So I was going to debate Mike Foley on a few of these points before the latest shenanigans that happened at the World Cup Nationals. You probably guys, are aware of, right? Why has
Right.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to the special election. I've been working on my campaign for 5 or 6 months, and I was hoping at 2022, I will get my chance and get on the platform and debate Mike on his points if he's running, and offer my vision of the organization, my vision for the sport, where we're focusing on venues, on competitive values. We support our competitors. One of my biggest things is, how do we support competitors? We are sending our best and most capable athletes to the world championships, right? And this was similar situation in skydiving. These guys train, they earn their way to that slot, and we're sending them. And how are we helping them? We are sending our best and brightest to bring home the gold for the United States. They're representing us, the country. And the organization is offering them no meaningful support. Are they paying for their tickets? Are they paying for, in skydiving, they actually created a fund, which I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I want to establish a Team USA fund where I will donate my first paycheck as the USPSA president to establish that. And what that fund will do, if the organization is not willing to help out these guys in an official capacity, people like us, like I'll send $20 to the Team USA fund to help these guys to either get professional coaching, work as a team together, pay for their uniforms, help them with the travel expenses. If they need ammunition on site, we'll help them with that. We are sending our best athletes to bring home the gold. I want to help them get their job done. Like, they put in the work, they put in the effort. Like, that's the least I can do as the organization, we can do. So I will donate my first paycheck as the USPSA president to establish that fund. Another point was practice score. I actually was debating I should share this with you guys. If it's makeuspsagreatagain.com is the website, and the password is still not public. I'll make it public in a few days. I list all these points and all these actionable items. And practice score is one of these bullet points where I think Ken's mission and the team's mission is noble. You remember when it was paper scoring, how difficult his mission was to help the match directors to run better matches. Practice score has been essential to us, right? Like, we haven't, like, when was the last time we shot with paper scoring? This paper has been a backup. But the organization in no way does it help practice score. I spoke to a couple of developers on practice score. Their mission is noble. Ken's mission, I read his article, why does he do that? It's always going to be free. It's always going to be available to the match directors. So I think the organization should enter into some kind of a partnership with practice score. Now, my first thing will be like, hey, Ken, like, how can we help you? Partner with the leadership, help the technical. So their developers are all volunteers. And I mean, in my regular life, I'm an IT guy. I do software quality testing. I run a group of testers. Help these guys out. Like, the new hit factors come out on the new classifiers. People start asking Eugene, who's the application developer, when are you going to enter these new classifiers into the app? Well, USPSA hasn't shared them with me. Why can't we help these guys out so that we all can enjoy a better application? They're working for free. Can we help them with something else? Is there anything else that we can, become a partner with Practice Score? Because their mission is a noble one.
So there's no relationship right now no official relationship between USPSA and Practice Score?
If you go online and you run a search on Practice Score and enter these terms, why can Practice Score, I think it was an oral article from MLN.com, if I remember correctly, where he speaks about how much other organizations, Practice Score supports a tremendous amount of shooting sports, not just USPSA.
Right.
You know that, right? They do shotgun, they do accuracy rifles, they do IDPA, action shooting, steel challenge. Like, there's a ton of different sports that they support, and it's available to everybody for free. And so he mentioned some of the organizations that have contributed or have helped them out in the past. And I think USPSA did some, not even worth of mention contribution to them. And then we've been silent. And the feedback I got through the private channels is USPSA has been more of a taker and a demander of things rather than a partner. Do this, do that, kind of a thing. I'm not sure how known this is, and if it's not, it should be. And I think we should. If Practice Corps pulls a plug tomorrow, what are we left with?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Don't we want to help these guys out? They're doing it for free. What can we help them? It doesn't have to be monetary. It could be, hey, promote them somehow. And they can display USPSA banners on their website because they certainly, a lot of people don't know about USPSA, right? A lot of PRS guys probably don't know about USPSA, but they probably run into, at some point that banner can be displayed for, for whatever, advertising fee can be displayed on the Practice Corps website. I think we can be good partners with Practice Corps. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if you have a professional relationship, that you could get some unique features just for the USPSA in that app. So yeah, I would imagine that would be a great thing to have.
And it could be, it could be a technical level of help. Like, listen, connect our IT guy with their app developers. What do they need to plug into their API calls they can make to our database? Will they? I don't know if they're going to benefit from that or not. The database is scrapable. Anybody can write a script and get the information from the USPSA website. But maybe we have an IT. USPSA has a very strong IT team. The website is great. There's a lot of good features. Maybe they can work directly together to help the app developers and the website developers on Practice Corps side with the features that we, have on our end. So now the other thing was, the rule changes. We're talking about the rule changes. I think it was a rush decision. I don't know what the motivation behind that was. I don't think it has any competitive value, But if we want to do that, that's fine. Let's make a level 1 exemption for some of these rule changes. We already have that, right? We can.
Right.
You can come with your duty belt. You can shoot a local level 1 match with your duty belt. You can do a lot of different things at a level 1. There are plenty of exemptions. These should be level 1 exemptions. That's a very solvable. We don't have to roll things back, but just make it, make it a level 1 thing. I don't want these rule changes to happen overnight. There will not be a major rule change without membership approval for 30 days, like it used to be. I think it goes out to the membership. People get to, and we have these technical channels where you log in with your USPSA number, right? You get a pop-up, hey, there's a rule change upcoming. You have 30 days to vote. If you dismiss it, that's fine. We'll remind you again. If you dismiss it, we'll say that. So you don't want to vote, but then you don't have a say when it happens.
Right.
Go there, say, hey, I'm for it or I'm against it, and then. And then the area directors have an easier decision to make. If they're faced with this overnight, hey, let's vote on this rule change tonight, proposed by the administration for whatever reasons, they're voting on that tomorrow morning. They didn't even have a chance to read those. They don't know how the membership feels about that. And then the membership starts jumping on these area directors. Why did you vote for that? Let the membership decide. Let them vote on this. 30-day review. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. There should not be, but that creates transparency. How do we make it more transparent? And I might regret this later, but we have town halls. We have virtual town halls with IT leaders, right? With politicians. You can go to your town hall meeting and talk directly to the people, right? To the people that are in charge. You can voice your opinions. Why don't we have a virtual? This tool right here that we're using right now, StreamYard, they can host up to 500 people. Why can't we have that? You log in with your USPSA number for a board meeting. You know exactly what's happening. You may not be able to raise your hand and speak up because that would be out. But you can totally watch that. And then when they enter executive session or whatever, listen, there's always a need for an executive session, but there's been too many of them, I think, in the past.
I mean, you could just live stream it to whatever platform you want to live stream it to, so at least people can watch it.
Yes. Right, and that's the administrator. I mean, we've had plenty of meetings at work where the administrator says everybody's muted until it's time to talk. So you can't, even if you want to hit the mute button or unmute, you're stuck until the admin says, okay, now it's the comment section.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, like you said, I think it would benefit It's just like anybody who has a job where other people make decisions. If
Yes.
you don't have a say, then you're never going to buy into what's happening if you haven't had an opportunity to give your opinion. And if presented the opportunity, you don't say anything, just like you said,
Yeah.
then that's your own fault.
Yeah.
But as long as the opportunity is provided for you to have some say, then once that decision is made, it's the decision and that's it. But if you don't say anything, you can't blame anybody but you.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And the technology is there. Like it doesn't take a lot of resources to make it happen. But transparency, it creates visibility into the decision making process. People are involved. If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you do, there's your channel. Like, you can make these decisions. You can help me.
I mean, yeah, in 15 minutes, you can create a Survey Monkey email and MailChimp it to everybody in the USPSA with, yes, no feedback.
That's it.
Yeah. And then it's, give them some time to go through. I mean, it'll tabulate everything instantly when it comes back. But, if you want to read through the feedback, it might take a little bit, but at least you'll get feedback.
Yeah. And like I said, the technology is there. Like there are specific actionable steps that I can make today to make that happen. If I can't, then I can solicit some opinions, some feedback. People that know how to make this stuff happen. Like one of my things was like vendor as a program kind of a thing, where let's say you have a club that has, I don't know, 6 or 7 or maybe 8 bays, and you want to host a major match. You don't have enough equipment. Well, I know a guy. His name happens to be Bill Duda, who could be a vendor.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him, but maybe someday we'll hear about him as one of these guys who can load up a trailer. You call him up, like, hey, listen, in 2 weeks I'm hosting this match. These are the stages that I picked from the database that the USPSA has kindly provided to us. These are the stages we're going to build. These are the dimensions of our base. This is the equipment that we need. He says, hey, it's going to cost you this much money. Like, all right, cool. Based on my entry fees, this is what I'm working with. He will come. He will set up the match. If we need our rows, our rows will, that's another thing we can talk about. He will set the match up with some help. He will break it down. He will take it. You own nothing. You're managing nothing. It's vendor as a service program. I have the facilities. I don't have the equipment. Let's make the connection. Let's make more interesting matches in the area that can happen. All right. What's the other thing I want to talk about? Vendors, discounts.
Well, I think that's you've hit a lot of good points so far, and one thing I was also wanting to see is like maybe the USPSA would help in some of the, sponsor some of the training classes or classes, shooting classes.
I love Infinity. I think it was Infinity. Wasn't it Infinity Firearms that does the youth program?
Yes.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we need.
Yeah, and so I think that would be beneficial also. So also like you had you were talking about technology. Oh my gosh, technology is so amazing. You're in IT and everything of that nature, and like some places like where we shoot at, they don't have cell signal. And you might be able to say, okay, well, hey, we can come out there and set this up, and you all will be able to get the cell signals, get your updates and everything of that nature. And
somebody was doing it at Area 8. I don't remember.
Yeah, they were. They actually set it up. I actually saw it. It was actually pretty neat.
Did his name start with a D and end with a U?
Yeah, when that Duda?
Duda was doing that, right? He's been doing it.
Yeah.
He's been
So
doing a few matches.
He's not a sponsor, but we love the guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we love him.
Yeah,
because I'm special in his eyes. I'm very special. Matter of fact,
I'm looking forward to being one of the memes on the. My wife was actually a meme on his. She was wearing a trash bag at was it Area 8?
Huh.
Or Mid-Atlantic section. It was Mid-Atlantic section. She was wearing a trash bag because it was raining really heavy and we didn't bring out rain jackets. So Duda took a picture of her and he posted, that explains your stage scores. It broke her feelings, but she laughed really hard, man.
Oh, that's hysterical. That guy is funny.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how special I am to Bill Duda. I'll be right back.
All right.
Now, Mike, real quick, couple of things you've touched on. I want to bring up a couple of questions. One, when we were talking to Matt, which you said you've listened to, Matt Nash, he talked about how when he went overseas, you're not pasting at a major match. All right. So my question with that, it's like a two-part question. My question is, so like Area 8, the Virginia State match, you have several major matches within the Area 8 region. Now, my thought would be, why not have, when you have these major matches, why not have supplies laid out just for Area 8, steel, paster guns, things like that, where, okay, Virginia State matches beginning of October. So all those supplies go to the Virginia State match. Whatever steel, whatever they have, when it's needed for Area 8, it goes to Area 8. If there's a Maryland State match, it goes to Maryland. If there's a Mid-Atlantic sectional, it goes there.
Yep.
But my thought is, one, it goes back to what you were saying. It helps the little guy too. You know, they're not like Fredericksburg is where the Virginia State match is being held. They're not having to buy new stuff every year to support that match, which takes away from the funds they're getting in. And two, when you shoot a major match, typically there's 3 or 4 ROs on every stage. There are a couple stages I could think of where you still may need 1 or 2 people to help reset it. But for the vast majority of them, the guy going around calling out the scores has a paster gun. Another guy has a paster gun, and then you still have someone resetting steel while someone's scoring. I don't see how that would take any longer to reset.
And then I don't get yelled at for not resetting when I reset an entire half of a stage by myself.
Come on, pasters.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking, and that the first part of the question goes along the lines of like the vendor as a service program. If the USPSA, I'm not sure if USPSA wants to take on the role of owning the equipment rather than having an approved vendor. Let's say Bill Duda wants to do this thing, or some other guy wants to do this thing where I have a trailer and I'm able to travel within this distance for this area, let's say 6 hours, let's say 8 hours from his home base. He can travel with his trailer after the phone call with the match director on specific dates. Everything is booked out. He can, based on the stage diagrams, he can lay out the equipment that he needs to bring to that club. The club does not have to invest any more money. They just pay him a fee. He travels to that match. If he wants to expand from Area 8 alone, maybe he can have an affiliate, or he can build his business to have representation on the West Coast, or northern part of the. He has these vendors that are approved by the USPSA who can travel within a specific distance with the trailer, help set up, help break down, removing that responsibility, the headache of ownership, the headache of renewing equipment and buying new stuff, timers, Wi-Fi connections, steel. Targets, all these things are covered. You pay a fee, and you don't have to own any of that, process. Vendor as a service. In IT, it's called platform as a service or software as a service, where like this streaming service that we're using, you're not owning any of the servers. You're paying a small fee, right? And you can enjoy all the benefits. You don't have to do upgrades. You don't have to install software. You just log in, you click the button, all the testing is done. It's just going to work for you. You don't have to worry about it. Remove the headache, allow the match director to do the match directoring thing, allow effectively the quartermastering crew in this vendor do their work. The second part with the reset, there's you guys may have heard of it. That's the other thing that the Russians got right. There's this club in Russia called Yekaterinburg. I forget the name of the club, but they host the Russian nationals. And all the major matches are hosted there. It's in a relatively remote area from Moscow. It's not, it's not nearby, but same distance would travel to Florida or to, other states. Right. The guy who owns the club is actually a multi-billionaire, a Russian mag. He steel or brass. I think he's a very rich guy. He discovered practical shooting, and he goes, "Well, I'm going to build myself a club." And he built himself a club, and it's the best club in the country. And Ben Steger was coaching there. A lot of Eric Griffel goes there to train. They're all tremendously well-run match. There is no staff. There is no competitor reset. It's all staff reset. Very well-run match. And here's the thing: ROs apply to work those matches, and they don't always get selected. The match director, because this is actually one of my points. NROI. Okay. let me answer the question. I would like to jump into that topic there. I don't know.
Okay.
But how do we make it happen? How do we make staff reset? You know, some ROs are not willing to do that. Some ROs, you know, listen, I may be too tired by the end of the first day to be moving. Like, if you count your steps when you go shoot a major match one day, from all the resetting and all the travel, you will have walked at least 10,000 steps. At least, like you can enjoy your 2,000 calorie burger and then drink 5 beers, and you will still not have replenished all the calories you burned in one day of shooting. And these guys are there for 3 or 4 days
In the heat.
in the heat. They have
Yeah.
to make decisions. Their brain needs to stay fresh. These are hardworking folks. Well, are they willing to do the staff reset? If they are, great. If they're not, then we can't really force them. But how can we help? So some people are saying, let's get the Boy Scouts, the organization. Let's get the young people on. Well, can you imagine if a Boy Scout get hurt on the range? Can you imagine? I like the idea, though. What can we do? I have a kid. My kid is, you know, let's say 12 years old, and I want to get him into shooting sports. I'm the parent. I'm shooting that match, and there's a program that USPSA provides where, hey, I will sign a waiver. I will get my kid involved under my supervision. He will be helping out at this match. Reward him. You can actually pay, I don't know, a small fee to the kid. He's actually earning money. He's learning the sport. He's helping. He's spending time with his dad and his mom on the range. And, you know, and you grow in the new generation of shooters who can, you know, so why not build on that, you know, Boy Scout helping reset? Instead, if people want to spend time with their kids and they're okay with them resetting under their supervision, they sign a waiver, and they help out with the reset. I don't know. It's just a thought that was in my head.
Yeah, and shout out to Kevin Ruiz. He ROs major matches in the area, and he brings his son to the Virginia State match. And one of the guys on there, Calvin Brandt, by the way, Huggy, was paying his son to collect brass for him. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity to do little things like that and make the kid feel worthwhile and get them involved.
And you help in the sport, but you also, you know, like the work ethic, right? We'll talk about, you know, the new generation. Hey, here I am. I'm 12, 13, 14. I'm earning and I'm helping. And that builds character as well, you know, if we want to get another level, right? But so, you know, and like I'm a CRO, and I, you know, I earned my shirt as an RO that I bought. And I believe strongly that these guys are some of the hardworking guys that are working the major matches. And I spoke to a few of these folks, and I'm like, well, how is the organization helping? You know, like you work in this major match, you work in the nationals 4 days or 9 days, you know, back-to-back nationals. Yeah, there's some stipend, there's some, you know, help, there's some reimbursement for travel, but they still have some issues, right? And so these guys are doing it for the love of the game. Why else would you spend 9 days on a hot range and work the major match? Other than you love this thing, like that's what you love to do, you know. I say the organization can do more for these guys. Maybe we can increase the stipends, or maybe better reimbursements, better price tables. You know, just for, you know, like some of these things already exist. Let's build on that. Let's reward these guys. Let's recognize them on, you know, on social media. Like, hey, these are the, you know, these are the ROs that are making our sport better. Recognize these folks. But, you know, at the same time, you hear a lot of this feedback. You probably heard from high level shooters. You know, bad calls or bad ROing. Some guys, you know, I'm not going to say any names, but like some people stopped going to the nationals because they felt they are ROing. But I'm like, well, everybody makes mistakes. You know, if somebody makes a bad call, they were out there on that range for 3 days in the heat. Maybe like it's human to make mistakes. But if there's an RO at a local match, and I've seen this with my own eyes, when RO is running a timer, and you can go and read the RO creed, and one of the bullet points there, your attention will always be focused on the shooter that you're running. Like I owe him that. This guy's on his phone checking text messages literally as he's beeping the shooter. If I was an RMI, if I was like, I would have pulled his rating right there and then. I wanna increase the confidence of the membership, all level of shooters, that if I'm an RO at a major match, my calls will always be correct because I had to go through a process to become an RO. Like right now, anybody can become an RO, and we need more ROs. Like I hear this all the time. We need more ROs. I'm like, well, if I pass my RO test, great, I'm an RO. If I barely pass it, if I fail, I'm not going to stop running the timer. Like I'm still going to help out at a local match. So we're not going to lose an RO if somebody fails a test. They will still run the timer. They will still score the tablet. But I want to tighten this, I want to make the classes more available. I want to reward the RMIs and incentivize them to travel and teach these classes. But I also want to respect their time and their knowledge and empower them to make decisions. Okay, if somebody is not involved in the class, I've seen this, the people on their phones, they're checking their Facebook. Why are we here if we don't want to be ROs? Make it more difficult. Make the test a little bit more difficult. Instead of 3 tries with an open, book test, make it a 2-try. And if you fail it, like it's a completely brand new test with more questions you got to pass, and then you got to reset. Just like in airborne school, right? Hey, you failed. That doesn't mean you're a failure. You can always come back. You can always recycle. But unfortunately, today was not your day. An RO is taking pride in his knowledge, in his decisions, and that's how we increase the confidence of the membership. That when an RO makes a call, and he's a certified RO, like he knows what he's talking about. I want to make it a point of pride, like I'm an RO. I know this game, and I'm not going to make bad calls.
Well, and one of the things that the 3 of us have talked about at one point was I'm sure we've all experienced it, but one story specifically we've discussed before is, we're on a bay and the RO says, show clear, hammer down, holster. And if you have a negligent discharge at that point where the RO is supposed to watch you as you're, unload, show clear, hammer down, holster, and there's a negligent discharge, whose fault is that at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the shooter's fault? Is that the RO's fault? Like what accountability is there? Because yes, if that's me as the shooter, I absolutely should have been paying attention. But like you said, I've been shooting for 3 days. I forgot to drop the mag, whatever it is. But at the same time, the RO is supposed to be watching me manipulate this firearm. And are they supposed to allow me to do something like that's that significant and make a negligent discharge, possibly injure somebody, send a round over the berm? Like, what accountability is there moving forward if something like that happens?
That's a good question. It actually happened a couple of weeks ago. We had a gentleman at a local club match a couple months ago, and I'm so it's a small club, and they have a flat base, so they do 1 squad shoots, then the second squad shoots, and then they go and score together. So I'm on the second squad watching these guys finish shooting, and he's unloading and showing clear, and I can see from 40 yards away, I can see it yellow. So he removed his magazine, but somehow maybe the round was still in there, maybe it was stuck in the I don't know. And I see the yellow piece of brass in the chamber, and I know they are always seeing it. And I was like, no! And he drops the slide, and he presses the trigger, and of course, he's going home.
Right.
Whose responsibility? I'm not the DNROI. What is my opinion on this? My personal opinion. I think the largest portion of responsibility is with the shooter. But if I'm an RO and I'm seeing that brass in there, like I will say, no, stop! Like whatever I can do to prevent that from happening. If it happens, it happened. Whether we assign blame to the RO or to the shooter, we know what happened. The result is the same. Like the guys, but I don't think I'm qualified to explain the rules or to judge the rules. I think we have very capable people. I actually had quite a few conversations with the senior NROI staff, the RMIs, and I respect their opinions. These are the grandmasters of the rule book. They don't always agree with all the calls that are being made, but they represent the organization, so they have to go with it. I listened to Troy's interview on Brian's podcast recently. I really enjoyed listening to him. He has a lot of good things to say. I think maybe he's a little bit misunderstood by some of the top level shooters. But we have an organization that's in place, and these are the grandmasters of the rule book. And the rule book is like the holy grail of the sport. What differentiates USPSA from an outlaw match? Was it you guys, or was it? Oh no, it was the Brian's podcast. And the question was, how come I go to this match and your match is just as good as it's the same rule book. It's good because it's the same rule. I can go to California, I can go to Texas. I know what to expect. That rule book is our Bible, and these guys wrote that book. So we need to empower them with some of these decisions to, increase the confidence with the ROs, the junior ROs. Another thing I was thinking about, feedback for new ROs. I'm a new RO. I've never worked a national match before or a major match. With me, there's a CRO who's an experienced guy. He's watching me. He's coaching me through this match. You should be able to provide some level of feedback for me at the end. You know how you can enter your work record on the website, right? Like record of matches that you worked as an RO. I think there should be, maybe it shouldn't be public, but maybe it should be a feedback system where it's available to match directors and the range masters. When we make these matches more attractive to the ROs to work, there will be more good ROs to pick from, so that the range master who's working that match, like, hey, well, I have all these guys applying. There's a couple of new people that I know. I'm going to pick them. I'm going to pair them with these high-level guys. They're going to coach them. That's how we're going to invest into the next generation of better ROs and CROs and hopefully range masters. And then there's a feedback system. You work this match. I'm a CRO. I'm submitting feedback. This is what I've observed. Good range commands. You know, we can make it a bullet point list, and then it could be like a comment section for future range masters to read through. Good range commands, good calls, good scoring. Could use improvement on this, right? And we can train that guy to become a better RO. If, on the other hand, the CRO submits feedback, hey, poor range commands, or needs work on this, or needs work, and maybe there's some other things, like maybe cannot handle the pressure. Maybe there's some belligerent shooter who's saying some unreasonable stuff, and this RO loses it. You know, like we're both professionals, but the RO is the one that's wearing a T-shirt that says NROI. He should be more professional. Yeah, you could DQ the shooter, but that guy still needs to handle the situation correctly. So if that feedback is submitted, it could be private behind the firewall, available only to match directors and range masters to pick the ROs. But it increases confidence that there are things being done behind the scenes to increase the knowledge of the RO staff.
Well, and to piggyback on what Leo was saying, Mike, I am not an RO. However, I've operated a timer at a local match, and I caught a person with PCC getting ready to drop the hammer on a round in the chamber. And I stopped her. I said, stop. I said, you know, pull your charging handle back. I think you have a round in the chamber. And sure enough, she pulled it back. It ejects the round. We clear it. She looked at me. She said, thank you. You know, then pulled the trigger. Everything was good. But I think it goes back to like almost piggybacking on what you're saying. There has to be something there, because if you're the RO, you should be paying attention to what they are doing. And if they have a negligent discharge, while yes, the shooter gets disqualified, I almost feel like there should be some repercussion there on the RO. Because
or like a report that's generated.
You're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right, like if you have X number of, or whatever it is, like I think the big point that we're trying to make, and I think we're on the same page, is while yes, ROs and everybody that has to do with shooter safety is vitally important for this sport to continue. The quality control, I think, is kind of what you're pushing for, and I think we're all in agreement that there needs to be some system in place to ensure that we are getting the best people out there, that they're continually doing the best job that they can do, that they're not getting burnt out, and like you're saying, that we're incentivizing really quality people to come out and continue to do the job.
Yeah, incentivize and recognize these good people that are doing the hard work. Like, hey, in social media, let it be this. There's actually a process in place for the DNROI to review some of this. If you feel like, you know, at a match, a major match, local match, you have witnessed something that is not in line with the core or with the creed of the range officer, you can submit feedback directly to Troy. I think he reviews all these things. You can submit just like an arbitration form. I think there is one. You know, what you witnessed, who was there to support that, and you know, you can submit that for the NRI review. And if it has substance, he will review it. He will assign a range master or a range master instructor to review that report. And then if it's egregious, you know, there will be things done. I think he mentioned that in one of his podcasts, or on the podcast that he was with Brian on a couple of weeks ago, which was interesting. But there is a process in place. And luckily I've never had to use it. But there is something that's already in place for that.
That's good to know.
Well, and you know, why not? Now we're just compounding everything here, but looking at other professional sports, you know, those, if you look at the NFL, the NBA, any of those things, they rate all of their referees throughout the season,
Exactly.
Even college football.
Exactly.
So when you get to the playoffs and that college football championship or the Super Bowl, those are the highest rated refs throughout the season. I mean, why couldn't you do something like that where
100%.
you send out an email to those top rated guys saying, is there a chance you could work nationals, and like you say, incentivize them. Here's what the incentive will be.
Yeah.
But at least you're getting the highest level ROs that are out there.
100%. And not just our rows. The national is the biggest match of the year. The best of the best coming to compete. We were. Oh, that was actually. I think actually that was the final bullet or the final straw that broke my back as far as running for the USPSA president. My wife is standing in line. You guys heard about the fiasco at the low cap nationals with the banquet, right? She was standing in line. She has nothing but we should be shooting all day. She has broccoli on her plate, and all the sandwiches are already gone. And the president of the USPSA comes in front of her, takes the last piece of cake, and walks away. And I was, that was the cherry on top of the failed banquet for me.
And who was this?
The former president of the USPSA.
No. I mean, who was it? Your wife? You were saying?
Yes. She was standing in line to get some food, and it was. And she told me about this, and I was watching from the distance. And it was the last piece of cake that she was hoping to eat after a full day of shooting, and he took it away from her. It's almost a joke. But in any case, only the best of the best for the biggest matches. National should be a celebration of, it should be at the end of the year probably. The best stages, the best ROs, are well designed. In Russia, at the same club that I was mentioning, they have a presentation, man. It's like a huge party with a band playing. They already have compiled all the videos, so you sit there for several hours. You hang out with your buddies who you've shot with. You've got the tables, food is catered. You're watching videos on the big screen TV of the stages that you just finished shooting, and then at the end of it, there's a presentation with all the winners, medals, and it's an event. It creates a feeling of like I'm not at a local match. I didn't just finish shooting a local match and I'm going home, kind of a thing. So I think the national should be recognized. I mean, that's. I'm not sure.
I think the one RO that you definitely need is the one that definitely calls out the alphas. What is that gentleman's name, Dave?
I don't remember, but he's the guy who
two alpha.
Yes, everybody knows him.
Yeah.
He's the baseball ref. He's like the umpire,
Yeah.
Strike two alpha.
He's a GM, isn't he?
I don't know what he is. He's a GM of ROs. I know that.
I mean, I'm just saying, if there was like an award at the end of the year for like RO just being a baller, that guy would get it.
Yeah, I remember. I think he called it on me. Like, you have it was Alpha Mike no shoot, but you get two alpha.
I wonder what it's like when someone gets disqualified on the stage. You're out.
I wouldn't even be upset. I'd be like, you know what? Good call.
Yeah, I mean,
you got me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and these people deserve recognition. Like we talk about them, like maybe they should have a profile page on the USPSA site, or maybe we have a social media presence, right? We do these things. Let's recognize these guys.
Yeah,
let's put it out there.
That dude's got my vote.
We're gonna blow up his spot. He's gonna be famous after this.
Yeah.
That's right.
You are welcome, sir.
So here's another question, and I know we were talking about ROs making bad. Some of them has made bad calls and everything. But do you see like maybe in the future of like maybe having video of it so that at the end of the shoot, if somebody wants to say, "I want to challenge that call," that they could go back to the video at the end of the shoot and say, look at the video, and if they say, "Oh, there was a foot fault," and they go back to the video and they go, "Nope, it wasn't a foot fault," they maybe get the opportunity to reshoot that, or how do you see that in the future?
I like it, and there's been a couple of conversations we've had about this specifically. It's very difficult to see the 180, right? If we use we need to define what we are using video reviews for. As you know, per rule book, video and photo evidence is not admissible. Mm-hmm. But so let's say I got disqualified and my buddy filmed it, and the call is done. Like I'm not arbitrating the call. I got disqualified. Done. But then I look at the video and I see like, no, it was not. Like I did not do this thing that he's saying I did. Or if I got a procedure for a foot fault and then like, okay, he made the call. I know the video is not admissible, but I want the RO to be open-minded enough to like, hey, like, dude, like you made this call. Would you mind taking a look at this video? I'm not saying you need to change anything. Just take a look at this. and make him aware, like, hey, you made the wrong call. Let him like do his own accountability. If he wants to change it, he can. If it, I think for foot faults, it is visible. It's impossible to tell the 180 break. It's very difficult, right, from that angle, from any angle. But with a foot fault, it's very, so maybe we can work with the RMIs and the NRI Institute to say, hey, they will make the recommendation, and then the board it'll be open to the community. Right? So, as the president, I will ask, Troy, hey, can you work with the RMI staff and see what we can use video reviews for? Get their opinion. They will submit a recommendation. He will submit the recommendation at the end of it. We will have a 30-day, membership review period where the membership will vote on that recommendation. And then instead of just throwing it in front of the board immediately, the board now knows what their constituents are asking them to do, so they can make an intelligent decision and make the right call when the board meeting happens. So they're voting based on what the members are asking them to vote for.
Yeah, and I would even go as far as say, why not use your level 1 matches as your testing ground, and then say, okay, for this season, from March to October, all local 1 matches can use video to check foot faults. I even had one, and now I don't remember if it was a local. I think it was the Virginia State match where someone dropped their magazine, picked it up, put it in their belt, not in their mag pouch, in their belt, and then cleared a malfunction and then pulled it out and put it back in, and there were penalties involved there. But now with the magnet change, now what if they said, no, you put it in your belt when actually they put it on their magnet? Then maybe the video footage would show what they did or didn't do. So maybe there are some things that you could test out at level 1 matches is what I'm getting at. Like foot faults, where at the end of your run, you're like, hey, you got a procedural for a foot fault. And the guy's like, well, hold on. Can we check the video? Yeah, let's check it. Oh, yeah, you're right. It wasn't a foot fault. Or, yep, that was clearly a foot fault. You know what I mean?
And this could be one of the things that we talked about, like the vendor vendors, like, dude could have a couple of cameras pointing at, like if he's willing to take on that challenge and the vendor wants to do, like, there's a camera that's watching specifically the fault lines, so that it can be a review later. And I like the idea of testing things before you go live. Like, I'm a tester by trade. Like, that's what I do. Before we go live with testing, we make sure things work before we go live. A provisional change to this, new thing is great. I like the idea. And again, I have confidence in the NRI core, like the RMIs that are working there. I think they can come up with great recommendations. They can voice their concerns. They can highlight the risks. And if the membership says, yeah, we'll like it, why not do it? Like, what do we have to do if it doesn't work? Just like a provisional division, when we offered PCC as a provisional division, the membership liked it. It became a real division. Carry optics was a provisional division. Now it's the biggest division in the USPSA.
By far.
Yeah, this could be.
That's not even close. I don't know if you know, but I track that, and it is outrageous how far ahead Carry Optics is of every other division. It's paid participation.
I love production, and it's sad for me to see. I don't think production is dead by any means, but it's sad for me to see myself leaving production and all my friends going to Carry Out. But it's pulling a lot of talent away from things, from production, and everybody's transitioning to Carry Optics. But it's a fun thing to do, man. Why do we do this? Because it's fun. So, I'm shooting Carry Optics. All
right. So you're an IT guy.
Yes, sir.
So my next question is going to have to do with your pillars 2 and 4, which is 2 is competitive values. 4 is transparency and accountability. Not so much 4 as much as 2, but what are your thoughts on live streaming area matches and nationals?
Well, they tried it last year, and like you said, like we got to try some of these things out before they become polished, right? In Russia, there was a saying: the first pancake is always messed up. It sounds a little bit differently, but you get the meaning. Like the first thing we make is never going to be perfect, and
the heat's not right yet. That's why.
right. But a lot of people have ideas, and we've heard this from other folks. Like, hey, like it's easy enough to do, but somebody has to do the work. Like we have the tools, yes, we have ideas. What are the specific actionable steps that we can make to actually make that happen? I think there are specific things that we can do to make that happen. Streaming, like it was done. how can we, like, again, what would membership want to see? Do we want to see our buddies shoot? Like, hey, I could make the nationals, and I want to see, my buddy Robert over there. Shout out to Robert Hillfucker, who hopefully will make the carry optics national. But maybe he wants to see how I'm shooting, and he's tracking me. Or maybe does he want to shoot? Or does he want to watch the Super Squad shoot? Can we make that happen? Can we make it selectable, or can we make it a multi-channel stream? I think the technology is there, and we have IT director on staff. The USPSA does. If he can't solve it, like, I know people who can. I mean, we've done this as an IT company. I'm a tester. I'm not a coder, but I know technology is there, and I know it can be done. I love the idea, man. Look, I watched it. I finished shooting, and then I watched the next squad from the hotel. I was streaming, live streaming it. So
and Jim McBurnett was the range master for Area 8. He's the range master for the Virginia State match. Last year, he and I were talking because I worked the Virginia State, and I'll see him again here next month for the Virginia State match. He was talking about Cameo, the huge range out in Colorado, and how each stage every bay is already set up. It's wired with all of this IT stuff where you can run TVs in every bay. You can live stream from every bay because there are cameras. I mean, something like that is how I see where if you're a member, you might have access. You log into USPSA with your password and all that, and you can follow these guys because, I mean, again, like we just talked about, there's 44 GMs. Every big name competitor is shooting carry optics nationals. But
you can make it 43. I'm not a big name GM. I'm just barely a master in carry optics. 43.
But and if you're not, but you still want to watch, then maybe there's a minimal fee to pay to watch.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
maybe you just make it public for the first 5 years to gather more interest. But I feel like we're not utilizing technology.
I agree. I think when I started shooting, there was no, like, a lot of people are not happy with the website. I've seen these threads on Brian Eno's forum where the website is not. I'm like, well, what are you not liking right now? Because 4 years ago there was no ability to take an RO exam online as easily. There was no database of questions. You had 10 years ago you had to wait for your paper card to come in the mail before you can check your score. Like, you couldn't track your history. There's a lot of good resources. There's very good social presence from the NRO. Like, I love those monthly questions that they have. I don't know if you guys see those. Like, how do you score this target, or what's the call? But that just started happening in 2015, 2016, right? I mean, the technology has been out there for the last 2 decades. It's just, the plugins, like if we're talking, like, you log into your website, go to the streaming link, the plugins, whether that's from Vimeo or from StreamYard or from other platforms. There's so many platforms that actually have the plugin. You don't even have to
Twitch, Discord, whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Yeah, you subscribe. It's a nominal fee, whatever the fee is per year. You have the account that can support 500 streamers or 1,000 streamers. You test it out. This is what I would do as a tester. You set up an account for 1,000 streamers. You see what the demand is for this next match at Carry Optics Nationals. If you exceed your capacity, you need to do, you need to increase that server, right? What's the fee with that? If you don't get that, well, these are my numbers. I only had 45 people watching this thing. Well, okay, there were 45 happy people that watched it. We don't have to get 1,000, subscribers on this platform. Let's reduce it. The costs are not, but the technology is there, and anybody who, you guys are using it. It's a great. I've heard of StreamYard before. It's a great platform. Maybe, they can host 500 people, and that goes back to your point. You said transparency and accountability. Point number 4. I want to have virtual town halls, man. I want area directors to be able to talk to their people. I want the membership to be able to join this live town hall of the board meeting. And as a president, I've seen this done at corporations where the CEO comes out on stage and he talks about where the organization is going. He talks about what the plans are, and then he answers questions.
Mm-hmm.
A live Q&A every 6 months or every year with the membership, where people, you can raise your hand, you can orderly ask a question, and if I don't have an answer, like, I'll get back to you, kind of a thing. Like, it will be answered.
Well, and what was it? Isn't it February when they give basically the state of the organization address
Yes.
to the executive board? You know, you don't have to allow any questions, but if you live stream it where everybody can watch it,
Exactly.
then you can see all that information
Yes.
live and go, oh, that's interesting. And
Yep.
it would be nice if area directors once a quarter would, get on some type of platform where they can interact with people in their
Yes.
area. That would be
Yep.
nice.
I think Lee, the area 7 director, he does his post. He goes, I'm going to be shooting this match and that match and this match. If we haven't met yet, come, introduce yourself to me, and if you have any questions for me as an area director, let's talk about it. Kind of. I think that's great. I think a lot of these guys are doing it, but it also creates a certain level of transparency and accountability. Let's say I'm running on this specific point, and I'm putting out to membership like we're going to make it happen. But then the vote comes in, and the area directors, the vote is split, and the majority voted against it. Well, but the membership elected me on this thing, so why? I elected you as my area director. Why did you vote against this? Because I voted for this guy, and he ran on this point, and you voted against this point. So if we open up these board meetings and again, some people caution me against it. I might regret it later, but that's transparency and that's accountability. So I will be held accountable. And if I don't like it later, I know I will have done the right thing by introducing this thing. You know what I mean? So we hold our elected officials accountable. Just like our politicians, we elect these politicians, and they're unaccountable. Like you cannot, there are recalls happening in California here and there, but majority of them, they're just enjoying, their jobs, and there is no accountability. I
was going to say was that I agree with you. I think you already know that in doing so, you're going to get the one bad apple who is going to be saying stuff, and you're just going to have to kind of like you said earlier, be the nice person, the bigger person, and say, okay, all right, and say, I'll get back to you on that later, because there are going to be some, people out there that are just, that's their demeanor in life, is just like kind of heckle you. So I agree with the town hall style, visibility, so that you can, tell what's going on, and then maybe have, like you also mentioned about maybe having a column where they can place the feedback in there, and they can write their feedback in there, and if you have time, you can read the feedback and maybe say, I just got a question, and here's the question, and you can answer it. Maybe you could say, well, I'm getting a lot of questions, I can't answer them all right now, but we will review them, and I will respond back to these questions at a later date. But I do agree on the transparency. I like that idea, and I so agree with you on that. So
yeah, I'm glad to. And listen, like I'm not going to be the one tracking the questions. Like we have staff, we have guys, we have IT guys. These questions will be vetted. So if here's my technique of dealing with. I don't want to call folks loudmouths, but like there's a lot of opinions out there, and there's a lot of high level guys that voice their opinions. And for majority of it, I agree with them. I agree with a lot of these guys on some of these things. What I'll suggest is that hey, like we agree on this thing. You voice your opinion. Come help me. How do you think we can solve this? Because anybody can have an opinion. Who has the actionable plan to actually do it? What a specific step, because that's why I like, some of these programs, they have very specific actionable steps of how to train and what to evaluate for. So I know what my end result should look like. I know what it looks now, and I know what steps I need to make to get to that point. So if you have an opinion about changing the popper calibration, which is one of my things, I'll share this. What are the specific actionable steps that we can take to solve this? I know the organization right now is looking at it. They may address it. All right, well, let's solicit some opinions. There are some high-level guys, grandmasters and national champions, who have an opinion on how to solve this, and they probably have a good opinion. We may not solve it perfectly, but we will have solved it to a degree, right? Maybe, whose opinion I was listening to, those big poppers were designed for major power factor guns back in the day. Maybe it's time to review the need for large poppers. Maybe there's one of the I think range master instructors has a steel company, and I bought a couple of his steel poppers, and you cannot have a challenge calibration on that, because it will fall if you shoot that popper. The design is so good that like if it's a fort, like it's spring loaded, so it will fall. And I think they were using it at Area 8. I mean, might have been. I'm not sure. There will never be an issue with calibration challenge because it you hit it is gonna fall. Yeah. So maybe it's time to review some of these things. But let's solicit opinions and let's get it from people and let's evaluate them. And again, somebody will have like. The role of the president is not to solve the problems necessarily, but to listen to people, to trust people who know what they're talking about, and then evaluate that and then make a decision and make it happen. So I'm not going to say that I know everything there is to know about the rule book. I know enough that there is a guy out there, there's a bunch of guys out there, the RMIs and they know what they're talking about. I can call upon them and they will give me their recommendation based on their experience, based on their knowledge, and I can trust them that experience, that suggestion is correct. Same with this. These grandmasters have shot enough. They have some ideas. Some of them are engineers. Some of them are software developers, very analytical guys. I'll listen to their podcast. I read their posts. I agree. You know, they have ideas. Let's evaluate. Let's implement. How long has this proper calibration thing been on the books, man? I've been shooting it, you know, at least 4 or 5 years that I know of. Why hasn't it been solved? I mean,
yeah, I totally agree. And I agree with you also. The president doesn't have to have all the answers. The president is the leader of the organization, and that's what they do. So it is a matter of knowing who your subject matter experts are, reaching out to them, getting the answers, and then, you know, leading the organization and applying those and moving forward.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Trust your folks. Trust your experts. They will give you the right opinion. So.
You guys have anything else? Leo,
I wish I did, because I could talk to this. I mean, Mike, we could talk for hours, man.
Dude, I
just like the sound of his voice. Like if we just jack-jawed, it'd be fine. But I wish I had a good question, but I got nothing.
I'm a geek about this stuff, and we can talk offline. I'm happy to talk about like one of the things like I think I'm good at. That's one of the things I've learned in my time. Like keep an open mind, listen to feedback. Don't like I'm fully prepared to 50% wrong. 50% of the time I will be wrong. If you can submit your opinion with some evidence and some logical, like, hey, like this will be better. I am flexible enough to change. I'm not married to any opinion, and I'm fully prepared that 50% of the people will disagree with me, and I want to say the things that I believe in to try to change their mind. If I'm able to do that, great. If they can say something to change my mind, great. We'll find the right solution for the organization if we keep the organization in mind first and foremost. One of my closing statements on my campaign is USPSA exists to serve the membership, not the other way around. We pay these fees to the organization. What do we get in return besides the classification system? As match directors, as section coordinators, as area directors, from the ground up, like what are we getting back? You know?
Yeah. And a lot of what we've talked about, you can do right on the website, which is already paid for. So it's not like there's going to be that much more expenditure. There will be some, but it's not an exorbitant amount. So
it's illegitimate. Like how much money do we have in the bank? Yes, we need to have enough money to be able to carry the organization in case some political trouble and things change. Right? We need to have. Well, let's budget it out. Let's see how much. And then what else do we have? We're not for profit organization. Can we use that money to reinvest into clubs? Can we use it to reinvest into the youth programs, which I think are very important, right? Can we help the national team to go to the world meet? How can we maybe these guys could benefit from some Lenny Basham training, right? You know, let's organize some of these, mental game, because even the highest level shooters have mental breakdowns on stages. Maybe it'll be helpful, right? We can help our best guys to go there, and if it caught, like I said, my first paycheck will be towards the USPSA team fund. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, man.
And who better to teach you about the pressures of shooting on the international level than Lanny Basham?
Yes, exactly right. We talked about the Hall of Fame. Like, I really would like to see a Hall of Fame. Pick people that have helped develop the sport, go all the way back to Colonel Cooper. Like obviously he'll be number one probably to be indicted, right? We'll create a criteria of how to select people. Like they could still be active shooters. Is it just
Rob Latham?
Rob Latham, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but there could be some current shooters, people that are it's not just the accomplishment in the sport. What was the influence on the sport? How many people has he coached? Right? What were the contributions to this? You don't have to be a shooter at all to be indicted into the Hall of Fame. Like what?
Keanu Reeves.
Yes, number 3.
Just putting that out there. It's Keanu.
Yeah. Well, but I would love to see that. Like that's my dream. Hall of Fame. Doesn't have to be a museum, but a Hall of Fame. Virtual Hall of Fame, online Hall of Fame. And again, it's open to the membership. Like people will vote on these things, and these people get recognized for their contributions to the sport, for the, for all the great things they've done over the years to let us, enjoy this game today. It could be an RMI, it could be a former, president. I don't know. It doesn't have to be a high-level shooter of today or yesterday. I would love to see that.
I still say I would love, and when I talked to Mike, we talked about Mike Foley when I had him on, and he and I spoke. I talked about having, USPSA having their own range, their own facilities. It would be nice where you could find a centralized location and enough property and some investors, because I know there are some out there.
Yeah.
And create this building where you can have a museum. You can have the running list of, national champions and all of that. And the range can be used for multiple things, but it would be nice. I think that would really start building an even better foundation, a stronger foundation.
I love that idea. I mean, have you been to this CMP facilities?
No, not yet.
Oh man, if you're going to go to Cary Optics, it's tremendous. And I don't know, I think they have like 500 or 600 acres. I don't know how many ranges they have, but it's a tremendous facility. It's just an example of what USPSA could partner with, and have a place just like you're saying. And could it be a place that will host the Nationals? Why not? I like it. I like that idea a lot.
Well, yeah, and then you could, if you did have a place that was your own, you could have it hardwired, ready to go to stream however, whenever. I mean, it would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Huggy, you got anything?
No, I'm good.
Well, Mike, we appreciate you coming on. Is there anything you want to, any final comments?
No, listen, I want to thank you guys. I really enjoyed this conversation. I almost, if it wasn't recorded, I would love this conversation by the bonfire, drinking a couple of beers. I think I really enjoyed it. And I'm going to make this website public at some point, in the next few days. I don't know. There's still a meeting. I think the board of directors are going to meet on the 14th, I think, and decide on the timeline of the special election. But I want folks to see my website. I want to, it's a simple 3-pager, very bland. There's nothing special about it. It's just about me page. It's my campaign and the contact me form. And I've challenged several folks who are like, oh, listen, when I release it, Mason Lane, take a look at this. Tell me what you think. Ben Steger, tell me what you think. I'm going to see that guy next weekend. He's coming for a class here. You guys have opinions. I know this, and I agree with a lot of them. Let's make it happen. Let's come up with a plan with specific. It's not just I wish I could do this thing. No, I have specific points that I'm saying that the steps that I can make to make that happen. From live streaming on the website, specific technologies, people that I'm going to reach out to, and evaluations that we can make, to all the other things that I've talked about. So thank you for this opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on. I like it.
Absolutely.
All right. Hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, I hope so. All right. Take care, Mike.
Later.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch.
Yeah.